The film follows three central characters whose lives intertwine in a dark and intense exploration of morality and belief. Min-jae is first introduced as a mild-mannered pastor, trying his best to keep his faith and his community intact despite the struggles he faces. His wife is unfaithful, his church is losing members, and he is overlooked for a prestigious position at a newly built megachurch. These disappointments weigh on him, but it is only when Yang-rae, an ex-convict wearing an ankle monitor, walks into his church that Min-jae's true descent begins. At first, he welcomes Yang-rae, believing in redemption and second chances. But suspicion takes root when he notices the man's strange behavior. His paranoia grows when his wife calls him in a panic, saying that their daughter was taken from daycare by a stranger. Convinced that Yang-rae is responsible, Min-jae follows him to a deserted country road, leading to a violent confrontation. On that isolated road, Min-jae sees that Yang-rae's ankle monitor is missing, triggering him to act. Yang-rae, realizing he is being followed, becomes aggressive, and in the ensuing struggle, he falls down a hill, hitting his head on a rock. Min-jae, terrified that he has killed a man, panics. Instead of seeking help, he decides to push the body into a nearby ravine, convincing himself that this is an act of divine justice. But instead of relief, he finds validation in his actions, seeing symbols around him as signs from God. He believes he has done what was necessary, a decision that will only push him further into the abyss of his delusions. Unknown to Min-jae, Yang-rae survives. Injured and barely conscious, he stumbles into an assisted living facility. Fate intervenes in a cruel twist when Min-jae arrives at the same facility to drop off his wife, who volunteers there. When he sees Yang-rae alive, he makes a chilling decision. This time, he will finish what he started. He kidnaps the injured man, taking him to the construction site of the new megachurch. There, he ties him up, convinced that he must eliminate him as an act of divine will. Yang-rae, realizing he is on the brink of death, tries to bargain for his life. He tells Min-jae that he will reveal the location of Yeon-hee, a girl he recently kidnapped, but only if the police are called. This presents a dilemma for Min-jae. Calling the police would mean exposing his own crimes. He hesitates, choosing instead to leave Yang-rae bound while he returns to his church to lead a candlelight vigil for the missing girl. Meanwhile, Yeon-hee, who has been relentlessly tracking Yang-rae, is drawn to the scene. She is a woman tormented by guilt over the past. Her younger sister, Yeon-hee, was once kidnapped and tortured by Yang-rae, but she managed to escape. The trauma, however, left deep scars, eventually driving Yeon-hee to suicide. Yeon-hee, who was in training to become a police detective at the time, blames herself for not putting the clues together sooner. Her sister had called her while she was held captive, but Yeon-hee failed to understand the danger. This failure has haunted her for years, fueling her obsession with tracking down Yang-rae and ensuring he never harms anyone again. When Yeon-hee arrives at the construction site, she finds Yang-rae still tied up, pleading for his life. But her own inner demons cloud her judgment. She is haunted by visions of her dead sister, who urges her to kill the man responsible for their suffering. Torn between her duty as a detective and the overwhelming need for revenge, she hesitates. Yang-rae, sensing her turmoil, reminds her that if she kills him, they will never find Yeon-hee. His words shake her resolve, forcing her to confront the weight of her choices. Before she can act, Min-jae returns. Seeing her as an obstacle to his divine mission, he knocks her unconscious and solidifies his plan. He intends to kill her and push Yang-rae off the building, staging the scene to look like a murder-suicide. He justifies this to himself by believing that Yang-rae is pure evil, a devil that must be eliminated. He is convinced that God has given him a revelation, directing him to carry out this act for the greater good. But Yeon-hee regains consciousness in time to fight back. In a tense and brutal struggle, she manages to overpower Min-jae with Yang-rae's help. She cuffs the pastor to a pipe, but in the chaos, the chair Yang-rae is bound to gets tangled with construction materials. As the materials slip off the edge, Yang-rae is dragged with them. Yeon-hee desperately tries to hold on to him, grabbing at the duct tape that binds his ankles, but she is not strong enough. As he dangles over the edge, he gives her a cryptic clue: the girl, the one-eyed monster, ate her. With those final words, he slips from her grasp and falls to his death. Yeon-hee is left shaken, knowing that Yang might still be alive, but she has no clear direction on where to find her. In the aftermath, she turns to Yang-rae's therapist, trying to decipher his last words. The therapist suggests that the one-eyed monster represents Yang-rae's stepfather, a man who abused him as a child. The monster is not literal but rather a deep-rooted trauma that shaped Yang-rae's violent tendencies. Yeon-hee, however, realizes there is another meaning to his words. The one-eyed monster is a window design that appeared in key locations tied to Yang-rae's past: the house where he was abused, the apartment where he kidnapped her sister, and now, possibly, the place where Yang is being held. In a moment of realization, she connects the dots. With the help of her police colleagues, she searches for a building with the same architectural feature. In a race against time, they find the house, which is said to be demolished within hours. Breaking in, they discover Yang, bound and terrified, but alive. For Yeon-hee, this is a moment of redemption. She was unable to save her sister, but this time, she has saved another girl from the same fate. As the story draws to a close, Min-jae faces the consequences of his actions. He is imprisoned, stripped of the righteous narrative he had built around himself. When Yeon-hee visits him, she delivers the final blow: Yang is alive. This shatters his delusion that he was carrying out God's will. Back in his prison cell, he stares at a vision of Jesus on the wall, a face formed from dirt and stains. Tears fill his eyes as he wets a cloth and begins scrubbing it away. His motives in this moment remain ambiguous. Is he trying to erase the illusions that led him down this dark path? Is he repenting for his sins? Or is he simply lost, unsure of what to believe anymore?